Hey everyone, it is August 14th, and this is an open door, and it's the hour put aside for Advaita in A Course in Miracles. This is typically Amy's hour to facilitate. Amy is otherwise occupied, and I said I would step in, and so it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens. I was telling Chuck before everybody else showed up that there's no reason for me to pretend to be like Amy. I don't do things the way Amy does, which is part of why all of this stuff is so beautiful because it all works. I can tell you that we are going to be looking at chapter 6, section 3. It's called Everything Meets in God. It begins on page 241. But I do have something else I'm going to pull out. But I also have our opening invocation for this hour. Amy, Amy prepped me, so let's begin there with the gather. The impulse comes to gather. Quality of how we are together, how we talk. This is our gift to the world. The purpose of every gathering is discovered to recognize beauty and to love what is beautiful. Conversation rises out of every particle. It is all alive. Come to this empty table, cleared place where something new can happen. You take the hand of someone you love. What do those hands become? So, please don't ask me why, because I never know how to answer that question anymore. What I have done, there's certain lines, they're from paragraph 5 and then 8 and then 9 that I've written on a separate piece of paper that I'm going to read all together. Most of you know that I spend a lot of time with the guides, and one of the guides' claims are God is, God is, God is. It simply is. Yeah. And the guides have stated, to use, you could use the word God, you could use the word it. It's the same thing, only it tends to have a lot less baggage. What I ended up doing, though, in writing this out, I took all the he pronouns or himself, and I wrote them as it. And I took the word God, though I enjoy the word God, not everybody does. And now instead of God, it's truth. Love actually has a lot, even though I love us very much, when I drop love in place of God, it doesn't work for me. Just so you know, there's some baggage, sometimes it just doesn't work. So um I looked at the Holy Spirit, and there's a lot of Holy Spirit in this chapter. I had no idea how to replace it, just like yours and mine. It's the same. So if you don't like the word Holy Spirit, you could replace it in your head. But for me, Holy Spirit is the bridge. This section, 41, it's everything meets in God, but I'm not going to be reading in order. So you might just want to listen for right now. But I'm going to read it straight through, these words that I wrote down. And then I believe I'm going to read it again with some specific pointings, or I'm just going to share. Okay? Because this teaching for me feels really, really clear. Here we go. Since the Holy Spirit is in your mind, then your mind must be able to believe only what is true. The Holy Spirit can speak only for this, for truth, because it speaks for truth. It tells you to return your whole mind to truth because it has never left it. If it has never left it, you need only perceive it as it is to be returned. The full awareness of the atonement, then, is the recognition that the separation never occurred. Ego cannot prevail against this because it is an explicit statement that the ego never occurred. And actually, in this space, as I'm sitting with this teaching, the ego for me is thinking. It's just using that conditioned mind thinking. That's what occurs here. It's not a personality, by the way. It's not the uniqueness of me. I don't identify ego that way. Nisargadatta Maharaj has clearly taught me that what I am remains when the person drops, right? So there's a uniqueness and intimacy to what happens without the ego. So in this teaching, ego just means thinking, dualistic thinking. Okay? So that was from section 5. I'm moving to 8 now. The Holy Spirit extends by recognizing itself in every mind and thus perceives them as one. Nothing conflicts in this perception because what the Holy Spirit perceives is the same. Wherever it looks, it sees itself. And because it is united, it offers the whole kingdom always. Peace of truth lies in that message, and so the peace of truth lies in you. The peace of the kingdom shines in your mind forever, but it must shine outward to make you aware of it. The ego thinking is legion, many, right? The ego always sees not me, not here, not now. Go ahead and try to have egoic thinking without it. But the Holy Spirit is one. No darkness can abide anywhere in the kingdom, but your part is only to allow no darkness to abide in your own mind. Do this a little bit slower. Since the Holy Spirit is in your mind, then your mind must be able to believe only what is true. In the 2 evaluations and throughout A Course in Miracles, we're told that the mind is split, right? That there is the right mind and the egoic mind. I don't like right and wrong. There's 2 thoughts in our mind. There's the Holy Spirit and there's the egoic thought system, right? The Holy Spirit speaks only truth, which is oneness. The Holy Spirit knows that the separation never happened. Because it is in me, the individual, you can accept that you can know only that. Now, there's chills in my body. I don't know, something's happening. Key to this one line is the moment you see an argument to what I just said, you're in the egoic thought system. Holy Spirit sees only one, I, the kingdom. The egoic thought system is the only place where there's a me, not me, a here, not here, a now, not now. It's legion. It has exceptions to God's rules of only love. And if we accept just this one statement, right? The Holy Spirit sees only one. The egoic thought system sees legions. Because the Holy Spirit is here inside of me, it means that I, whatever you want to call me, the sense of a me, I must be able to believe what is only what is true. I have the ability here, now, to be the embodiment of truth. Accept that and the game's over, by the way. Picture that. The moment, the yeah buts, but you don't understand my kids are in trouble or I have to take care of my husband or the bank, then you're in the legions, right? You're not in knowing only the oneness. Because knowing only the oneness is here, we have the ability at any given moment to bring it all back into that thought system. The Holy Spirit, by definition, can speak only to this. It only knows truth. Its only job is to bring us back into the truth, God or truth. And it tells you to return every aspect of your mind to this truth. And it's easy because you never left God. We never left truth. We're always conscious. We always know that we are. So it's literally just stating, if you're seeing duality, you could continue to see it, but see it from oneness, from truth. This has nothing to do with being in the experience of life, by the way. Man, I've had the experience of being with mountains and rivers and lakes and not seeing any separation. It is unbelievable. So this isn't about stopping life and having the experience of it. It's having it without filters. It tells you to return your whole mind to God. There is no exceptions in this teaching, right? We were talking about the clarity of Papaji earlier this afternoon, and a lot of the Advaita teachings is, as soon as you start saying, yeah, but you've made an exception, go ahead and accept that you're back in the egoic thought system. The egoic thought system is not speaking truth. And because the truth is in the mind, you have the ability, your choice can be to accept only the truth in every single moment. If it has never left it, you need only perceive it as it is, accept that the truth is true. That's all this is saying. Accept the truth that I never left God. Accept the truth that there is such a thing as no mind here for those of us that were in this last conversation, right? Just accept it as true. If it has never left it, you need only perceive it as it is to be returned. You don't have to do anything. It's sort of like Ken Wapnick saying at any given time you can leave the sandbox. You don't have to, but that's this teaching. Accept that the truth is true. The holy instant takes that much time. The full awareness of the atonement then is the recognition that the separation never happened. You can't fix what never happened. You can't return, like it's all in this chapter, right? But I didn't pull that stuff. You can't return to the place you never left, right? The ego will have you searching for all of eternity, but you're searching for what you are, so you'll never find it. I've had this next line circled, right? Ego cannot prevail against this, pretty much this teaching, because it is an explicit statement that the ego never occurred. The ego doesn't exist. In truth, in this teaching, in no mind, there is no ego. So now, in the illusion, in the mirage, it is fighting tooth and nail to make this complicated. But we are told quite clearly here that the truth is right here. How could it be anywhere else? And if we accept the truth, then it fills our whole mind. The light turns on and there is no ego. It's just this. The Holy Spirit extends by recognizing itself in every mind and thus perceives them as one. So this is telling us what to do or how to be, right? And it also lets us know what mind we're in. If we're walking around in this world and we're engaged in our judgment of others or how to fix others or how to relate to others, blah 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 blah. We're in the egoic system of legions, which it never occurred. So we're just hanging out in the illusion. Now, again, we've heard it so many times, but that's where you're still where consciousness is still choosing to play in this experience. There's nothing, and I'm using all the words I've heard 100 times before, but that's fine. It's play. The idea, though, that we're stuck here, that we have no choice, that we ever left, it's just not true. And so if the impulse is now dropped to know the truth, it's really just a matter of noticing when the ego is active, by noticing what we're seeing when we look out on the world and knowing that the Holy Spirit sees only I. Again, that was if you haven't watched the Papaji, he says there's this point where everything you see, is just I. It's just I. It's just I. And that's the step. The Holy Spirit sees, nothing conflicts in that. And because what the Holy Spirit perceives is the same, it is united. It offers the whole kingdom always. And even the guides keep saying, what you damn damns you back, what you bless blesses you in return. And the Course teaches us that if we don't want to heal, the fastest way to do that is project guilt and shame out into the world we see. Because the world we see ain't out there, it's just here. And so when we're choosing to see only love, only God, we're seeing sameness, we're returning this mind back to the truth. The peace of God, the peace of truth lies in this message. And so the peace of God or the peace of truth lies in me. The more I see only peace, the more I see only God, the more this mind is returned to the place it never left. It just knows truth. The peace of the kingdom shines in your mind forever. It's there. Where are you looking from? But it must shine outward to make you aware of it. So this is really, if this is the, I don't even call it work anymore, but the word is, if this is what you desire, if this is what you desire, how to have the experience is right here. But it must shine outward and make you aware of it. When you're looking through these eyes and you're seeing a world of chaos and a world of problems and a world that is not you, then you're living in the egoic world of legions. What you damn damns you back, and you're not allowing the mind of the Holy Spirit to fill you. But if you're looking out through these eyes and you're seeing what seems to be separate, and you let me let me finish the reading because it's right here. The ego, the thinking system is legion, right? Not me, not here, not now. That's an infinite, right? It's 10,000 plus things. But the Holy Spirit is only one. So no darkness can abide anywhere in the kingdom, anywhere in this truth. Your part, my part, is only to allow no darkness to abide in my own mind. It's a simple teaching as desired. If you want to know only love, bless everything you see. Recognize even when the physical perception still says, that we look upon a world that's dead. The Course teaches us that. So the world we see in this moment is dead. So when we choose to see with the eyes of truth, we start blessing everything we see. It dawns more and more upon this mind that it's all one. We can accept and trust that it's all God, all one. And the more we place our focus there, the more it will continue to shift our perception. My part is only to allow no darkness to abide in my mind. Doesn't mean that the darkness doesn't come up. I have now gotten to the point where when the darkness hits here, I start celebrating. Because once I see it, there's this sense of choice. And again, Melanie, I'm now getting closer to this space of hearing what I've heard you speak, and it's in my voice. I don't know who's doing the choosing. It doesn't matter. But once, what I can tell you is that once the darkness is coming up, even when it feels like I get lost in it for a and the blessings occur, and knowing that somehow knowing that it's possible, knowing that this mind, the Holy Spirit's thought system of oneness, of sameness is here. And if it's here, then the potentiality, the probability, the possibility of seeing God's kingdom everywhere is here now. It's here now. Don't have to earn it. Don't have to go searching for it. It's right here now. So I can open it up for conversation. I have some of Amy's notes that I'll make sure I speak into it, but I do want to give this group an opportunity to say anything at all first. I hope you do. Did you find the Advaita in what I shared? Melanie, beautiful, thank you.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Well, one thing, the very last paragraph, you were reading paragraph 9, where he talks about the light shining in your mind, and it must shine outward to make you aware of it. But also, I could always envision the metaphor, of the sun rays. They're all the light, they're all the same light, and they're all shining outward. And it's the rays might appear individual, yet it's all the same light shining forth. So it just always reminds me of that sort of metaphor of the sun and the sunlight and the rays of sun that we all are. And as you know, the rays extend out, right? And light, apparently, once you shine a light, it goes on and never stops. It just keeps going and going and going. And so it's kind of that idea of that light is infinite. That was
You have my old science background where if you shine a light in a vacuum, it never stops.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's emptiness, right? A vacuum is emptiness.
Well, if you shine, a beam of light in emptiness, it never stops. In our world, when you shine a beam of light in darkness, it's hitting like the dust particles and the gravity and the wind and all that. And so it probably doesn't stop, but it diffracts so much that it's no longer
Yeah.
an effective beam.
It's like an energy, would you say? It's like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Monique, please.
The way I see it is because Melly was asking who is choosing, and then you repeated that. What comes to me is nobody is choosing. Nobody, no mental. To explain that, I will refer to Cindy to the story you said, not today, but a few days ago, about the dog that was stuck in the net. And you call 3 different person trying to do something about it. And then nothing happens. And then you were told, go to your dyad. I don't know if you were late or not, but you were told to go to the dyad. You went to the dyad. And after the dyad, you were told exactly what to do. call the church. 2 words, call the church, and you call the church, and it happened. So that's why I say nobody is choosing, no mind, no persona, no, only God chooses, but He can choose through you. You can choose through your mind if you hear it. If you hear this voice, and like you heard this voice, that's exactly true. The story you did, that you let go of everything because nothing worked, and then it came, call the church. Only 2 words, call the church, and it happens. So that's why I say, like, nobody's choosing. It's God choosing all the time to have the right choice, and you will hear it, you will feel it through your heart or through your mind, or it's usually through your heart. It's not through the mind or through the personal or the ego, or it's usually through that. You can call it the Holy Spirit or whatever. So this is my experience, and I really like the story you said because that really explained that. Thank you.
A couple of things, because you merged today's story with that story. It wasn't a dog, it was a raccoon
Oh,
that
he was a raccoon.
jumped in
That's
the
right.
net. And the other thing is, in all honesty, I didn't hear a voice after the dyad. I found myself calling the church. So the activity moving through me occurred maybe just a split second before the narrator started telling me what I was doing. But there was a knowing and a doing that wasn't a voice. It was more intimate than
Then a voice.
the way you described it. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry I used the word voice because that's how I hear it. It's not a
Oh, yeah.
voice. It's not a voice. It's like a download. I don't know how to explain. It just comes. So, but I use the word voice because I hear it very often. When I was young, I will always hear it. What to do? What do I do? And then instantly I will be told what to do. But you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not a voice. I don't hear it with the ear. I just it's just there.
So I feel like speaking about this a little bit more,
Okay.
because you're talking about a download. That's not my felt experience of that story. My felt experience of that story is that, and I don't know if everybody heard the story and if it's useful telling it. Let me know if anybody wants me to tell it. But my experience of the story is that the activity in the world occurred and it activated a level of density here, didn't correct it. During the dyad, the density, the separation lifted, and then the truth of being just took steps. So there's no sense of something happening from outside of me telling me what to do at that point. It felt more like what blocked the knowing here as the next step got healed, and then the activity just took place. So it wasn't, it's sort of like this teaching. The Holy Spirit is not a being outside of Cindy. There was something blocking the knowing of the next step. Well, there was something that got activated, and the next step was the healing of the energy here to release the knowing that allowed that to be resolved. I don't know
This
if you
is
can
what
hear.
I this is what I mean when I say I didn't know how to explain it. When I said you totally let it go and then you were told what to do. It's not a hearing, it's not a voice. I call it a voice, but it's the let it go of the mind. That's why I said it's nothing personal. There is no more personality. There's just the truth of what is here. And that's what is talking to you. That's what you hear. It is just, yeah. But this is exactly what you said. That's what I meant. Like you are
Yeah.
told
No, I'm
when,
very grateful to be able to say
yeah,
those things out loud because it's so easy in this it's so easy in this experience to keep separating, to say Cindy's one being and Holy Spirit's another being and God's another. Like it's so easy to feel like that's the experience. And more, it doesn't feel like that.
that's right. It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. When there is no personality, it's the same. It's the truth that I feel. It's like I don't know. I use the word that I know, but you explained it very well.
All right. While I'm waiting for the next hand, is there another hand? I could go through some of Amy's notes, but I'd love to make this a conversation. All right, here's Amy's notes. The first thing she wrote to me is that the chapter holds all the meaning of the section. Everything meets in God. And I also just love the visual, and I listened to Joel Goldsmith state that too, just this idea that two parallel lines going off into eternity and like on the desert. So here we go in a place where there's very low gravity and pressure, right? You can see how these two so-called parallel lines meet. Everything meets in God. Does anybody have a conversation they want to? The egoic thought system will continually state that the two things are separate. A does not mean B, and these two paths can never cross. How often have I heard some things that essentially say these two paths can never cross, right? And this teaching says, but everything's the same. Is that just does that just land?
Well, source or God is all inclusive. So there's nothing that's outside of it. So there's nothing that can, so parallel lines are always within, there's nothing that can never be without it, outside it in that sense.
But there's
So,
also this point of sameness. Like at its level, everything is just the formless or everything is consciousness. So this idea that there are two conflicting ideas in God that can never, like the two north sides of the magnet, can't touch each other. There's a way of understanding that only happens in the dualistic world. And we're still having the experience in the world we're living in of the two north sides of the magnet not touching. But as separation dissolves, it's still the magnetic field. Like at this point, I can tell my mind is getting all squirrely with it. But there's a sense of knowing that the two north sides of the magnetic field in God, it wouldn't be a question as to whether or not they would touch. There's nothing that repels each other if everything's the same.
right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Carol.
Hello, can you hear
Hello.
me? Because I'm having
Perfectly.
issues with my machine. Okay. Um, yeah, it's amazing to me how you said something that brought this up, that how this world and science, everything is the physical world, which is just an aspect within all that is manifesting truth. In this dream of time, as we see physical science and everything playing out, it's all saying the same thing. when we sit quietly and are still and psychological mind, or if you want to call that ego, isn't at play, it is all it. There isn't any separation. And I'm not sure, there was something that you said, and then Mel said something. And it's like, it's like the story in the dream of being a separate entity in a world of separation. The story is becoming a story of truth. It's presenting truth in the dream. When I look at the quantum field and science and discoveries and even just being still, there's not any, it's there, it's all there. When the psychological mind is quiet, when it doesn't need to be anymore.
At the same time, and Mel, please, help me with this. You need to. While I was listening to you, I love all these different teachers we listen to. It was Donald Hoffman that came to me, and the usefulness of science where we are, and how when we recognize our current ability to create in this dualistic world is based on our vibrational system, and it's very useful to have the transistor radio and the circuit boards and be able to do Wi-Fi and internet, like, right? So science has this amazing ability to affect our experience here on the world. And when we recognize that science is limited by this virtual headset that we're wearing, and when we take the time to be still and understand that this virtual headset is limiting, the virtual headset changes in a way that we can't understand. I love Papa G saying, I don't know how it happens. And new awarenesses come through that so beautifully bless this sense of being informed. So it all dances together, right?
Yes. Yes, it all dances together. And it is all dancing. It's just the dance at some point. It, yeah, sorry, I can't really speak
No, well,
intelligently. Sorry.
you're lighting. The other thing that's coming to me for those of us that listen to the guides on Monday, one of the things they were talking about medicine, right? And they weren't dishing medicine at all, but they did say today's medicine versus what it may be in the near future is sort of like today's medicine versus the days where human beings used to use leeches to purify blood. And if you go back to that period in human history and those beings looking at medicine today, they would feel like the gods have downloaded, and it would be all miraculous and impossible, right? And so the guides were just pointing to giving us the opportunity to understand that where we are today versus where we may be in this kind of future, talking about linear time, is similar, and to allow for the infinite possibility and probability of that.
Yes, and it's really just one you want to call it story, it's oneness experiencing the one story from, if you want to call it, the beginning of time, or as you were saying, way back when to now. And yet we look at it and think, oh, but there was a way back when. And there were individuals with individual awareness experiencing all of this. And it's just one experiencer.
Crazy.
Anyway.
Thanks, Mel.
Oh, I always get, I mean, you can see how science has been, advancing, quote, throughout the belief in time. Yet what has never advanced, I don't know, unless you maybe, has been our relationships, human relationships, the ability to end war, to establish peace. I mean, there's been zero. I think, that's because it's working within a dualistic conditioning framework. And it's not until, you recognize our oneness, that's the only way we can get out of these cycles of war and atrocities and all that. And I think that's the calling now, is to, I mean, it matter how advanced we get, with our science, we're not going to make a leap, whatever, unless we begin to recognize our oneness. That's
Absolutely. And that takes us right back to this chapter, seeing this, like the key to quote unquote ending war is seeing sameness and oneness and God and everyone, whatever the word you are. And also key in this chapter is the way we do that is by doing it first in our own mind. And then it'll spread like a virus. And so absolutely. And Joel Goldsmith has taught me that too. You're never going to end war by building the biggest bomb. Thank you for that. That's like, and I got Eckhart Tolle telling me too that if we don't evolve as a human race, we're gonna implode. But that's fine. That's fine because just being the human consciousness is just an experiment. It's just an experiment, Mel. The whole human consciousness is just an experiment within the Supreme Brahman. So the Supreme Brahman or consciousness has had other experiments before, whatever, like, whatever the Mayan race was, or the Atlanteans, or whatever you want to call it. Being human does not make us unique and special. It is really just one big, maybe a small experiment within Supreme Brahman. And so if the human experiment implodes, then there will be something else taking its place, right? But I just assume work to evolve the human race. And the guides have stated that we've already decided to do that. Feels really warm and cuddly to me. The human consciousness has made the decision to survive. Amy's notes in paragraph 2, sentence or 2-4. Everything meets in God because everything was created by God and in God. I think we've stated this, like we've all said it. Carol just said it. It's all God, right? 2-6. So sentence 6, paragraph 4, sentence 6. All God's thoughts perfectly united within themselves and with each other because they were created neither partially nor in part. I'm going to read that again. I don't know what I'm doing with this line. All God's thoughts. It's funny because we had this conversation earlier this week, Monday, where Amy was pointing to the idea that there's only one God thought. And I still don't have a good feel for any of this. So I'm going to say that out loud, but I'm going to bring it to the group in case anyone has anything coming up for them. All God's thoughts are perfectly united within themselves and with each other, because they were created neither partially nor in part. So perhaps, Amy, if you're listening, I don't know what to do with this line. 3.4. So paragraph 3, sentence 4. You cannot extend God's kingdom until you know its wholeness. This to me, we're talking about my job is to not accept the darkness in my own mind. So once I accept that my mind is God's and it's all light, then what I extend is the wholeness of that, the oneness of that. Patricia.
But even the darkness is God, because everything is God. So darkness, lightness, whatever is going on is God, is the oneness.
I want to address this because we have these conversations and you're not incorrect. And if the impulse here is still to play in, let's call darkness war.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
So let's call darkness war, conflict, right? If the impulse here is to continue to play in that, yes, it's all God. It absolutely is all God. When the impulse rises here to rise above the vibration of fear, darkness, or conflict, then what happens here is that this mind begins to see everything as God, as light, and it rises above the vibration of fear. Now, there's still experience. What I'm being taught from the guides, especially, is that the human beings can have will continue to have an amazing experience in dance, minus the vibration of conflict and fear.
I'm just curious about this. Cindy, it's like conflict, the consciousness coming to consciousness about conflict. Let's just use that as darkness, that as an example. Even in conflict, whether it's in relationship or it's in the world, it's irrelevant. Conflict can be seen as conflict. In that, as I raise my particular vibration, which is, let's say, my thinking, through maybe acceptance. I accept that this is what's going on. It is happening. Gaza is happening. Conflict in relationships is happening. In that acceptance, there is that movement and that opportunity for change. Call it vibration, call it whatever you will, because I choose not to get caught in the conflict. If that's a way to say it. I choose not to enter into the darkness. I can accept the darkness, but I choose not to embrace it. I can accept it. It's like Helen talks about, accept everything. It's just a thought.
Yes to everything. Yeah. So conflict doesn't really exist in the oneness.
Yeah.
It's a movement and a flow. And it's interesting because all of a sudden right now, I want to say the impulse will arise to be part of what heals that. So accept the guides this week I don't know if it's what I played on Monday or something else I heard. They said as you continue to do this work, you become the song, the higher vibration. So there's really you just walk around emitting, you're like the sun. Melanie was talking about the sun rays. And everywhere you place your attention, without you doing anything, there's a higher vibrational light that touches what's going on.
Okay.
So
it's a shift.
There is, every time we say yes to this, there's a shift. There's a shift. And when the decision comes, not through an individual choice, the decision rises in me to rise above fear.
Mm-hmm. But the shift is, if I'm raising if I am in consciousness, if I am in awareness, I am aware that the conflict exists, and I am choosing in that being aware of being aware, in that awareness, there's movement toward light.
You're not feeding conflict. And it's also been very, very useful for me to continuously remember that the world that the physical eyes are looking at is already dead,
Yeah.
which is a key part of the Course in Miracles teaching. I'm not looking with the physical eyes. I'm looking at what is already dead.
I'd like to
Now,
get back to the raccoon for a minute. Whatever happened to the raccoon? If we think about that raccoon was struggling, was in conflict with a soccer net. Okay? What happened to the raccoon? Was it rescued? Did it die? Whatever happened? Do you know?
I can only tell you what happened here.
Okay.
What happened here was that and for anyone who doesn't know, I was taking a walk. The short story is I was taking an early morning walk. I came across a raccoon that was literally choking itself in a soccer net. And by the time I was there, most of the fight was already gone. The raccoon, though, was still alive. It was moving in slow motion. I had no knife. I had no protective gear, but I'm very close to a fire station. So Cindy found herself walking to the fire station. I couldn't get in. I called the sheriff's office and I reported it. And I said, please send somebody to help this raccoon. They took down my information. I came back home. It was 10 minutes before my dyad was supposed to start. The sheriff department called me back. I was like, damn, I'm on a little island. In the time they took them to call me back, they could have cut the raccoon, but that's another story. They call me, they give me the phone number for the animal control officer, which I now know is in Buffalo. I'm looking, I attempt to call her. I now know she's a her. I get this message saying, you could leave me a text. And at that point, I'm sitting still. I already opened the Zoom room to do this dyad. I'm getting ready to type the host, who's our friend Diane, that I can't stay. I'm getting ready to go run and be the human hero to rescue the raccoon. I look around, I realize I don't have the gear. You don't go dealing with a raccoon unless you have the right kind of pants and you have the gloves, and it's just what you do. And the guidance came to sit for the dyad. So I texted the control officer all the details. And then during the dyad, what happened in that 40 minutes, all this guilt came up. Like I was overcome with guilt. And then I watched it dissolve. Right? And at the end of the dyad, I was open. There was sadness in the heart. There was a peace. There was a text waiting for me on my phone that from the animal control officer that said, I can't go to Grand Island. And at this point, there's no contraction. I literally just picked up the phone, did a Google search. Patricia didn't realize this part of the story originally. The soccer net was on the grounds of a Roman Catholic church. I called the parish office at the church. She said, I'll send the maintenance guy over. And I hung up and I knew my part was done. I never followed up to see what happened to the raccoon. The entire story here was over. Now I've walked by, so I could tell you that the raccoon's not there anymore, and I could tell you that they cut the net. But I can't tell you what happened to the raccoon. It's all formless.
May I please add to this, Cindy, that I made up a story in my head. I had this thought process that said Cindy was visited and she knew to call the church, not realizing that the net was on church property. So here is a story I made up. Cindy was visited. There you go. How we make up stories.
I am inspired to just read into the group the rest of these notes. It'll only take a couple seconds just so that paragraph 4, line 6. It is an explicit statement that the ego never occurred. It was in my reading too, but it's kind of neat. Well, if you choose only the Holy Spirit's part of the mind, that's oneness. The ego is never in oneness. The ego never existed in truth. And then paragraph 7, first line. This is the way in which you must perceive God's creations, bringing all of your perceptions into one parallel line in which the Holy Spirit sees. What is the Holy Spirit that sees here? Where is it? Who is it? How does this relate to 9:2? But it must shine outward to make you aware of it. And that just, for me, leads back to what I hear is clear direction. What you bless, I'm a student of the guides. What you bless, blesses you in return. What you damn, damns you back. I set my intention to see God in all that I see. And in seeing with the eyes of Christ and seeing God in all that I see, or truth or love or light, then that will continue to feed the experience of the light that's in here and out again. Any final words from anyone before I have the closing invocation too, but we do have a few minutes, and I believe Monique just unmuted.
That's what I meant when you said, I hear. That's exactly what I meant. That's why I said nobody chooses. It just happened. God make it happen. You move, you do this. Sometimes you don't know why. Why am I doing that? It's just you do what I will say what you're told to do, but what you hear, you just said it. I hear. You just said
Well,
it. So
yeah.
that's what I meant.
So I just, if you haven't watched the Papa G video, right around this 1 hour to 1:05, the interviewer asks Papa G, so I don't remember if he called it consciousness or God, or I don't remember what it's called, but essentially he's saying, so has God given you the directive to teach? And Papa G's looking at him. He's about to burst into complete laughter. What I'm asking you, Papa G, have you been instructed to give satsang? And Papa G essentially just starts laughing. And he's like, oh, God just told me that the body is thirsty. So the God is now telling me to lift the cup, and God is now telling me to put the cup to my mouth, right? He says, it's all one. I am that. This is that. The water is that. Everything is that. So every time I hear somebody say, I didn't do it, God did it, there's something in me that says it's not quite right. There's still this level of separation. There's still something in the egoic mind that says it's not me. Now, it's not the ego, but the ego doesn't exist. That's the teaching we have here, right? The mind that's separate from God doesn't exist at all. And if you take that away, every time you say it wasn't me, it was God, that's not true, because everything is God. If you haven't watched just this one part of Papa G's teaching, it points to that directly. And then he just starts to laugh. It's like, it's all me. It's all me.
It's like I hear a different, oh, I don't know how to explain. There is only one. There is only me. That's all.
Right.
You
Well,
cannot have, I cannot have both, the devil and God. I cannot have both. It's impossible. I can only have one.
yes.
And I'm united with God, and I hear a different. I call it voice because I don't know. I wish I can be better with words, as you are, but I'm not. It's I hear from a different space. I hear from the heart. Let's put it this way, from the heart, not from the mind to tell me what to do. It comes different, a different way, but it's only one. It's me all along.
It's always me. Yeah.
Yeah,
We get to the point, and then he says there is no doer. It's only in the egoic thought system that there's a doer, and the doer
that's right.
comes. But then at this point, there's no conversation about it. It just happens.
That yes, there's no door. That's right. Exactly.
If you haven't listened to that part of the interview, I've watched it probably 8 times now, and it's just informing something here. It's quieting something.
Yes.
It's
Thank
laughter.
thank you. Thank you.
And
I've listened to it. Yeah.
yeah, I've been sitting with it and watching.
Hmm.
Right around the same time, there's a fly that is crawling over Papa G's cheek. This is how many times I've seen it, and Papa G just doesn't even see it, doesn't flinch. Earlier in the discussions, he's going like, I mean, he's sitting in India, right? He's going like this. But during this part of the sat song, you can see it clear. It's a close up of his face, and he's in such bliss and joy communicating that this idea, and you can see the fly is crawling up his cheek, and there's no awareness of it, and that has informed me as much as anything else.
Wow.
Let me give us our closing invocation. Thank you so much for letting me do this. I don't know about you, but I had a blast, and since there's only one of us here.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah. All right, let's do the closing invocation. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, fire worshiper, lover of leaving. This is not a caravan of despair. It does not matter that you have broken your vow 1,000 times, still come, and yet again. So grateful for your presence. An open door meets again in 17 hours for resurrection. It'd be so much fun to have you there.